Good afternoon, Littleton. Welcome to 01460 On the Go, Littleton's podcast for Littletonians. I'm Karen Morrison. I am on the select board, and with me today is Ryan Ferrara, our assistant town administrator and our finance director as well.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for having me, Karen.
Yeah, so glad you could make it. Today we thought we would talk a little bit about the budget. It's coming up. We'll be popping its head in several different articles on our May 6th meeting.
Sure.
Hope everybody's got that on their calendars. May 6th, folks. 6:30 p.m., correct?
7, actually.
7 for the meeting and 6:30 for...
So it's two different events that are happening that night. So at 6 o'clock, we're doing an informational session about the MSBA Shaker Lane School. So that's going to happen in the cafeteria from 6 to 7 p.m. And then town meeting at 7 p.m. in the full gymnasium at the middle school.
Perfect. So let's talk about the budget.
Sure.
Maybe we can start by with the good stuff, which is that we're presenting a balanced budget this year.
Correct.
And can we talk a little bit about what that means?
Sure. So by presenting a balanced budget, we're basically saying that we're staying within our tax levy, meaning that we will not need any override of any sort or go to the taxpayer for additional funds beyond what's allowed in Mass General Law. So this is a process. It takes, it basically goes back to last year, basically back in September when we start that process. And maybe I could talk a little bit about how that process works. And
I think that'd be really helpful.
Sure. So everything that we do is basically guided by our town's financial policy. One of the things that's really nice about working here in Littleton is that that the Select Board and the Finance Committee have developed a finance policy that helps really guide our process as well as manage an effort to ensure that we maintain our AAA bond rating, which not all communities have, and is critical to being able to raise debt in a cost-effective way. So, that policy ranges from different things, talks about debt management, guides our financial planning efforts, and has other components within it, which basically when we have what's called free cash, which I always joke is it's neither free nor cash, but basically it's the money after we finish our fiscal year that we have left over to spend on other things. And basically what it says is that you have to be putting those monies aside for other stabilization funds, for something that's called OPEB, which is other post-employment benefits that is an identified cost for us. So we're continually using this policy and using the formulas within that policy to ensure our fiscal integrity. I would say, just as an aside, but it's really important to really thank our finance team for this, because this doesn't happen without a lot of cooperation. So I want to call out our assistant finance director and our treasurer collector, Robin, who does a great job. Kim, also in her office, Kim Cruvo, and Michelle Reynolds, our town accountant. So we're continually working together as a team in approaching this budget process, as well as, I'd say, with Steve Venuti and Fred Faulkner from the Finance Committee.
Oh, if I could just interrupt.
Sure.
And just mention that Steve was hoping to be here today.
Yes.
But unfortunately, he's under the weather,
Yes.
so our finance chair could not make it.
Yes. And I would tell you that having worked in a number of communities, being able to work with people like Steve and Fred who have that kind of experience and understanding is such a valuable asset. The town's so fortunate to have both of them to support this effort. We really do make it a team effort and a team approach to a budget, because when you're putting together something that's, maybe I'm looking at $74 million budget, it takes a lot of people to cooperate and make that happen. But following up just on that process, but we basically, as part of a calendar, there is a calendar within that policy. And so back on October 7th of 2024, we made a presentation to the Select Board and the Finance Committee as a joint meeting, and we talked about what our 5-year plan looks like. So right now, we're looking at, at least what was presented at that time, I should say, we're looking at some fairly significant deficits that we're projecting. So we talked about, in this case, we started the FY26 budget with a $4 million deficit. And so not an insignificant
I remember
thing.
it well.
Yes, and probably not in a good way. We sort of had our work cut out for us to adjust the budget and change different general assumptions we were making coming into that process. And so basically, from when we presented this in October to when we meet with all of their department heads, they present their budget, they present their needs. We talk to them about operating needs, meaning like we have to pay for fuel, we need to keep the lights on, we need to pay for our staff. And we also talk to them about their capital needs. And those are items that are over $5,000 that have a useful life over 5 years. And they have other investments that they have to make on that front. So it's really, we have that one meeting with those department heads. We're bringing in our finance team, town administrator's office, and really digging into what those needs are. And then that all adds together, and then we provide a proposed budget for fiscal year 2026, which begins on July 1st, 2025. We went back and forth looking at different ways that we could reduce our costs. Some of the key things that we did was really looking at our being able to put off debt service on the center on Shattuck Street. That we were able to push that out 1 year, so that saved us roughly about $1.6 million. But we did have, we think that next year we're going to be able to swap some of that out with our sewer debt, and so we're trying to plan ahead for those additional years as well. But I think, as you said, being able to present a balanced budget is our responsibility to the residents of town, to be able to show that we're spending efficiently and effectively, and as well as saving money aside. One of the real focuses that we've had in our conversations with the Select Board and the Finance Committee is as we're beginning to plan for some really key future projects.
Right.
And that includes the Shaker Lane School.
Yep.
And we were also talking about building a new DPW facility.
Right.
So this partnership that we have with the board and the Finance Committee is so important, and I would say, and many times unique, to have a good outcome for this, because we are already developing a plan for the financing of Shaker Lane School. That project, as well as the DPW project, will probably need to be financed what they call outside the levy. So our plan is, and again, and I put my plug in again for the 6 o'clock meeting just before town meeting,
Right.
to come to the cafeteria and hear more about that project.
Yep.
But the goal is to bring that back to the fall town meeting, and at that point we'll have better sense of what the cost will be for the project. Right now, net of all of the monies that MSBA appears to be committing, looks to be about $75 million for that project. But what we're trying to do is also take money that is within the levy and set that aside and find a way to take, with those two projects, be able to allocate funds to reduce those costs to the taxpayer over time. Putting more down, right. So as we have, if we have that free cash and setting that aside in our piggy banks, if you will, but doing so with purpose and planning for those out years is really where we're focusing things.
And this year especially, I think every year it's unusual in a good way how well the school committee and the select board and the finance committee all come together and work together on this budget. A lot of communities don't, unfortunately, have that sort of cooperation. But
it's so true. Our relationship with the superintendent's office is outstanding. we are all trying to sort of row in the same direction because we want to be able to set this up for the. We can't advocate for the project, but we can. But we want to be able to make it attractive for the residents, and that means trying to find ways to reduce cost as well as develop a plan to make it more tenable for them over the long term.
Right.
So it's still going to be probably the biggest capital project that this town has ever taken on. Mm-hmm. It's unfortunate, but
reflective of the times.
It is very reflective of the times. There was a lot of sticker shock when members of the committee heard those initial numbers and thought about what would this mean. But when we started comparing it to seeing what the costs are for other schools in the area, it was in keeping.
Right.
So what we can then do in turn is to begin to start to plan for that, for what those costs will be, so that again the burden to the residents isn't as bad. But one of the things we've done with the school is that they have committed over the next few years to basically take monies out of their existing budget to fund their capital needs for for smaller projects that they had in the 10-year capital plan, and what that will allow us to do is the funds that we would have otherwise been dedicating to the schools are funds that we're going to take out of the capital plan and set that aside in that same piggy bank for to offset the cost of the Shaker Lane School for taxpayers. So it's that kind of cooperation that I think helps the project's chances of being successful. Because ultimately, this is a decision for the taxpayers. First, it would be at town meeting to authorize the extension of the debt. So that would be a 2/3 vote that would take place this upcoming fall. And then right after that, the Saturday, so I think we meet on a Tuesday, and then on Saturday there'll be the election, and that will be a vote for the overall project. And that's just the majority of those who come to the polls at that time.
So that's for fall town meeting, and that's something that is reflected in the sense that that planning is reflected in our budget this year that we'll be voting on. We'll be voting on in May.
Correct.
There's some other articles that are coming up in May that are that include budget items.
Right.
Article 3, of course, is the budget itself.
Yes, that's the budget itself, which is, and usually we go through the way that the process is. We've got the town moderator will go through each section, and if people have a question about that, they'll ask them to put that, say number 5 on hold, which might be DPW, say for example. Right. And then people have a chance to ask questions about that. So yes, that is a key element of any annual warrant is to approve the budget. We need to keep the lights on here at Town Hall and through our operation. But yes, that's a key one.
Speaking of the lights on, Article 4 is LCTV.
Yes, speaking right.
Provider of our lights.
Provider of our lights right now. We'd be in the dark without the team here, but yes, that's to fund their operations. And that comes primarily through grant money through our 2 cable providers in town, and to keep LCTV up and running. And by the way, my compliments to the team here for expanding with the podcast. This is a great way so that it's not only audio, but we apparently it's also posted to YouTube as well.
It sure is.
So that's great.
Audio, video, we've got it all.
Yeah, it's nice. So my compliments to Mark and the team here for that.
Always. Article 6, Article 7, those are water and sewer. Right.
So I think I'd probably like to point out more on the wastewater article, which is. Right now, we've got we're in the process of building our sewer system. So the collection system and so it's really 2 projects. One is the collection system that you have to put your flow into the pipes. And then the other piece is the actual treatment plant itself. That's scheduled right now for, roughly speaking, for completion in the summer of this year. Which is very exciting. But it's going to take some time to ramp that up, to get everybody connected to that system, to test the system. So, there is a possibility that by the time, before we have full use of that, it's going to take some time to get a complex system like this up and running. So, in essence, as we've assessed betterments against properties, basically it's a 10% of the total cost of that project and allocating that among all of the people or entities in town that are connecting to that system. And the town is one of those parties as well.
Right.
So we have certain costs that we're paying for our portion of the capital costs associated with the system, and as is all of the other parties that have been bettered. So we are, but until such point that everybody is connected, and then at that point, the other 90% of that betterment will be charged, and people have the option to extend, either pay all of that up front or can pay up to, I believe it's 30 years to do that, and can work with the treasurer's office when that comes.
With really reasonable terms too.
We try to, because we understand as a improvement to your home it's the kind of thing that's going to be a permanent component of that work. As well as the fact that it isn't inexpensive either. So we have to recognize the fact that people's capacity to pay is it's not a simple thing or an inexpensive thing as well. So but with that, the town until such point that other 90% comes in, we are really footing. We are the only customer of the town, and so including the schools, of course. But so those expenses are pretty significant during this period. So we think we might have between FY 26, 27, and 28, as these other entities come on, as the flow comes on, it's going to be cost that we then have to cover on the capital side as well as on the operating side. So it's kind of I've joked with it. It's like the Bank of Littleton that we have for a little bit of time here. So, but what you'd see is basically a budget increase of close to like 1.2 million that we're that's jumping in 1 year for our sewer project. That again, we're trying to not only cover our costs, but the cost of the other parts of the system which haven't gone live yet.
Right.
So, so that's definitely a change from what we've seen. Yeah.
Let's see. We've got Article 10 is shifting some money around. I think we can just say that much and move on.
Sure. We can say that. Yeah.
Let's see. We've got Article 18 is our salary grid,
Right.
and we are sticking with about 2.5%.
Our cost of living increase that
personnel this year.
right. So every year we look at this at our cost of living increase for non-union employees, and we also have to look at our capacity to pay. Our union employees have collective bargaining agreements, typically 3-year agreements that they have in place. And our non-union employees, however, we look at this each year and see what we can afford based upon our needs. And right now we are at 2.5% on our COLA, plus whatever steps that those employees are within their classification and compensation plan, which is, I believe, Article 18 from, it's
Right.
Article 18.
Yep,
so, it's all right there. So, yes.
And folks can take a look at Article 18 and see the entire grid. And
Grid, right.
How that all maps out.
Right.
Let's see. How about Article 20 with the with capital plan and fire engine?
Yeah. It's an interesting thing because, as I said, when we meet with all the department heads, we really try to get a sense about operationally where they're at, where are they with their personnel. We also have to understand where they are from a capital perspective. And so we have a new chief, fire chief, Steele McCurdy.
He's been on the podcast twice now.
Twice.
Yep.
Wow. He's a regular then. And so one of the things the chief has discovered from coming in from being he has been part of the department in the past, but seeing what the current condition of the equipment is, he's noted that some of the pieces are in need of repair. So we're looking at right now, based upon the chief's recommendation and working with his staff, a new fire truck for this year that we're proposing. That's a $1.3 million expense that we're proposing to pay out of our capital stabilization fund, one of those piggy banks we talked about earlier that we can pull from when we have needs. And we're probably looking at purchasing another one next year as well, and that's what the chief is proposing.
And this goes back to the 5-year planning process that is part of the budget.
Right. Yeah, and it's interesting too because what a new chief might see, and what his understanding might be of the equipment and its condition and what scale that'll put in is important. And one person's perspective, a fresh set of eyes, and what that brings in. So, I think sometimes I think it's important to understand that the capital process is always a dynamic one. We've heard from different members of the finance committee at times, like, well, this is new, we didn't see this. I mean, I view that as a healthy thing because if you ignore what some of the what may be something you thought would be 5 years out, but realize that for safety issues or what have you, it needs to be moved up. Right. We need to be flexible with that. And we try to be transparent when we present this as part of our 10-year plan, but things change.
Sure.
Things change. Sure. And, I love to be able to provide certainty with with all of this.
I think everybody would like some certainty.
Right. Yes, I think so. It's just that, but it's also the reality of life. If it just things are continually changing. And, we try to empower our department heads to make good decisions and give them the resources they need to accomplish what they need. But we also have to realize, like in a situation like this wasn't something we had anticipated. We thought engine one could be replaced in a few more years out, but we're clearly it needs to be done sooner, and it is needed.
And we're fortunate that we have the means to be able to make it happen and keep everyone safe.
And Karen, I think part of that gets back to the financial policies.
Yes. That
we have places that we can go, such that when these asks come up, we have we have the resources, as you said, that just carefully putting those monies aside and planning for planning for the things that we can't otherwise know might be coming, or just having it as a resource. It's something that I think that this town does extremely well, and I compliment again the finance committee and Steve Venuti in particular. And I'd say that to him if he was here today, by the way, that putting those monies aside and doing that in a conscious way is really helped us accomplish our goals as a community.
And those policies are reviewed every year.
Correct.
In the summer. I think Gary and I worked on it from the select board last summer. Yep. And we just take advantage of that, relatively quiet time to look over the policies, see what's been working well, what
and per the board's recommendation, we made some changes to that too and updated it. So it's dynamic, and
we got the school committee in the room for that conversation as well, which I think was huge.
It is because when you have big projects and costly projects, you really at town meeting it's critical when you have things that are complex to have the key players all on the same page about the reasoning and need for articles, and where the select board is working so cooperatively with the school committee on what the future of Shaker Lane School is, what tweaks you can make to the capital plan to be able to save over the long term. These are the critical steps that at least you can't guarantee success for a Shaker Lane School, but I think we want to demonstrate to residents the importance of wanting to plan and set money aside and to do things as efficiently as possible.
Yeah. If folks want to know more about any of the things that we've talked about so far today on the podcast, where could they go?
Sure. Well, if one of the best places to go, two things, we're probably going to be posting the warrant report, which will have all the articles over the next day or two. It's currently at the printer and targeted, I think, for April 17th, when it will be mailed out to all of the residences in town. But we should have that online earlier, so if anybody's interested to see that. Perfect. I'd also encourage you, we're also in the final stages of finalizing our budget, so great information there about what department goals, objectives, as well as the 5-year financial plan. Those deficits aren't going away, so we need to be tactical about the choices that we make in terms of adding things and just being conscious about being as frugal and as intelligent about the choices we're making. So those would be the two places I'd point them to.
Okay, so start looking in your mailbox after April 17th.
Yep, it's a target of that. I think it's a Friday. I have to check. Yeah, so so Friday. So Friday, Saturday. It has to, the objective for the town meeting report is that it's in people's mailboxes 2 weeks before town meeting. Yeah.
And then in the next day or two, today's Thursday, when we're recording, by the way, everything will be online, and folks can peruse it that way as well.
Correct. Yes.
Well, thank you.
Yeah. Well, thank you for having me. This is very nice. I've listened to a lot of podcasts, but to actually be part of one now, it's very nice. It's
something to add to your resume.
I can put
podcaster.
Podcaster. I can put that addition on. Yes. So yes.
So and before we go, let's talk a little bit about your future.
Oh, okay. Yes.
And sadly, sadly for us, but we're happy for you. You're moving to a new opportunity, and we sure are going to miss you. But
well,
we've got through town meeting, which we can't thank you enough for.
Right. Well, as you mentioned, Karen, I'm moving on to a new position with the town of Concord. I've been here for about 3 years now, so had different roles and responsibilities in my time here, including straight ATA, interim TA, and now ATA/finance director. So it's been a great 3 years, but it's been really important for me in my time. First of all, to kind of get town meeting behind us, because that takes a lot of effort in the town administrator's office to coordinate all the steps. The budget is only one part of that, and is getting our town warrant out and making sure we have a smooth town meeting. This year we've got this edition. I'll do my third plug for the session at 6 o'clock at Shaker Lane School. That's been something I've been the select board's basic. Well, we have a select board representative on the committee, but also for Shaker Lane School. And I'm on it as well. Yep. So that's been something that's taken up a lot of time in the trenches. And but also too, one of the things I've been really fortunate to be part of is the startup for the renovation of 36 King Street, as well as the center on Shattuck Street. So as I was looking at it and saying, geez, as these projects are winding up, May 16th for the ribbon cutting at 1 o'clock here. So if anybody's listening and wants to come, we'd love to see you. We're also going to be doing an open house at some point in the near future at 36 King Street. We just have to figure out when that final move-in date will be, and at such point we'd be ready to welcome the public in. That's going to be the new home for Parks and Recreation, as well as the school administration. So with these projects wrapping up, it provided sort of a good opportunity and window out to say, okay, well, what's the next thing for me? And that's sort of how I'm, somehow looking forward. But I very much appreciate the time that I've been here, as well as I say, Karen, the support of the select board in that time. So my personal thanks to you and the other members of the board. And I'm looking forward to the next challenge. So.
We've been very lucky to have you here. We really appreciate everything you've done Like you said, you've seen us through a lot of projects and some less, what's the right word? Some times where we needed, your extra help, and we needed somebody to step up, and you did that for us, and we really owe it to you.
Yeah, well, thank you so
to
much.
have seen us through that. So,
Yeah. Oh, I appreciate that.
and we
Thank
wish you all the best.
Thank you, Karen. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Thanks
Thank you.
very much. We'll be back. I'll be back, Ryan. We'll see in a couple more weeks.
Okay.
We'll probably be doing, I think, an extra episode or two as we get even closer to town meeting. But until then, thanks very much.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Ryan.
Okay.